Recording is on.
Okay, cool. So it's recording. So I'm able to put up, I'll be able to put this up because it's recording. But um, one of the things that I love about cardology is it shows you the overall energy, right? So for instance, let's say you got an 8 of diamonds environment for 7 weeks, right? And the 8 of diamonds can deal with lump sums of money, like strong money, or having the pursuit of money for a specific goal. And that money is large money. Can you guys hold on 1 second again? I'm sorry, I had to calm down the house. Um, the 8 of diamonds, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, the 8 of diamonds, there's different kinds of money. And the 8 of diamonds money is when it's the type of money that you got a purpose for. Okay. So large money. So let's say you have to make a large purchase. There's something that you want, right? And like for instance, let's say you want to buy a car. Now that you and that car is $20,000, right? And you know you need $20,000. So the 8 of diamonds is a good card to have in a good position because that tells you that you're going to obtain the money to be able to make a large purchase. So if you already know in your head that this is a large purchase that you want to make, then that money is going to show up, that 8 of diamonds. So it's like no need to worry when you look and see you have an 8 of diamonds environment for the year, for especially a 7 week period. And if some of you guys are using my software on my website, I am adding the 7 week period sometime this weekend, probably by Sunday, because it's really great to see the year broken down into those periods because that's true. That's like traditional cardology. Like the first 52 days of the year is your Mercury period, right? And that's approximately 7 weeks. Same thing, the second 52 days is your Venus period, approximately 7 weeks. So it's good to see the year broken down into those little sprints. Those are the sprints that I use the most when I'm trying to figure out if something is going to happen. Okay. So if I want to know, like, I'm like, I'm planning on doing XYZ, right? And it's not a long-term goal, it's a short-term goal, fairly. I want to look at the 7 week period that I'm in to see what the cards look like and see if they're favorable for that thing to happen. So if I'm trying to make a large purchase, and I'm going to need to have the money to make a large purchase, I do want to see an 8 of diamonds show up because that tells me that if I go hard at something or pursue something, that the money is going to be likely for me to make that purchase that I want to do. Because the 8 of diamonds is also like shopper kind of money too. You know what I mean? Like, big spender, big ticket item kind of money. The 8 of diamonds is also inheritance. The 8 of diamonds is also loan money. You know what I mean? So if you're trying to go for a loan, you want to see an 8 of diamonds because it's like a guarantee that you're going to get that loan. You know. Now, if you see a 9 of diamonds, then there's going to be an expense paid out. You know what I mean? You got some expenses. So perhaps if you are trying to make a large purchase and you got a 9 of diamonds showing up in a 7 week period, you know that, oh, I got a few expenses that are gonna maybe even put me into a squeeze. But the 9 of diamonds is related to the Queen of diamonds, which is the shopper. You know what I mean? So yeah, you may get the money to do XYZ, but it also may put you in a crunch or make you feel like money is kind of tight. The 8 of diamonds is not going to do that. Hold on, let me close my door. So for instance, You know, I have in my 7-week spread, my environment in my current 7-week spread. I think my mom's trying to get in. You guys, can you hold on? Hello? I am online. Hold on one second. Hello? I'm sorry, y'all. Someone was trying to get in. Very important. And let me turn off the volume on my phone. So this 7-week period, I have an 8 of diamonds environment. And I have been saying that there's something that I want to buy, right? And in my head, I'm like, yeah, there's this thing that I want to buy. And looking at my 52-day cards, which are my 7-week cards, and I'm in my Neptune period, by the way. And my Neptune card is a 10 of diamonds. That's also a good sign. 10 of diamonds is a sign of a lump sum of money, or, extra money that you can kind of splurge with or whatever, right? So I got this 10 of diamonds as my Neptune card. In my 7-week period, I got an 8 of diamonds environment. All of these things, and then in my mind, there's a specific thing that I want to buy. It's a good sign that I'm going to be able to buy that because I got these strong money cards in my 7-week period. But the eights are about the desire, the will to get these things, the willpower. So if I want it, I'm gonna have to put a little muscle to it. You know what I mean? Eight money is not necessarily gonna come drop it in your lap. It could be an inheritance. It could be something like that. But an 8 money is gonna involve some type of work, because an 8 of diamonds money is gonna involve some type of work, because the 8 of diamonds has a 10 of spades and Saturn. And the 10 of spades is work, period. You know what I mean? So, in the eights, you guys have to remember, are the cards of victory, and there's no victory without no battle, right? So, again, it's going to take some kind of work for me to get what I want. But the cards are very favorable that I'll get it. You want to see these types of cards, you could be like, okay, I'll get it if that's what I want. So these types of things are the beauty of cardology, because it just tells you the energy that you're working with right now specifically. You know the time period because you know it's in this 7-week cycle, right? So like if you're doing tarot, I understand a lot of tarot cards, they do point to time, like this tarot card may be 7 days, 7 weeks, whatever. But cardology is way more specific. You know what I mean? And that's another beautiful thing about it, is it's like a calendar within a calendar. So when you open up a spread, like a yearly spread, not only are you seeing the energies that people are dealing with in every cycle, like your Mercury, Venus, Mars, etc., but you're also looking at calendar dates. You know what I mean? So if you so I said I had an 8 of diamonds environment. So I could look for an 8 of diamonds day coming up in this 7-week cycle. So let's say there isn't, I think this was the last 8 of diamonds. So if it was October 1st was the 8 of diamonds. So I could say that day could be a very good day for me to get some money, or to get to go for some money because it's almost a guarantee that I'm going to get it. So it's very, very specific, and it's dope because you can really plan, around being able to open up these cycles and see what's what. So because I have a Eight of Diamonds environment and I got this money, I can apply my personal spread to what's going on in the world, in America in particular, right? So I'm looking at my spread and I'm like, you know what? We're probably going to wind, they're going to pass this stimulus. Why are they going to pass the stimulus? Because attached to the stimulus is small business loans, which is another Eight of Diamonds kind of thing, and a 10 of Diamonds. So this is the beautiful thing about it. Hold on, somebody is okay. So the beautiful thing also about cardology is it kind of shows the chain of reception. You know what I mean? So if money has to get to Y, that means it's got to come through somewhere to make it happen, right? So if I got an Eight of Diamonds and I got a 10 of Diamonds and I got all this stuff going on, money got to come to me. It has to come to me, right? So the first thing I think of in my head is, okay, how is this money going to get to me? Well, it's going to come through the stimulus, right? So this is how I do my predictions. You know what I mean? So I might come out and say something, but I do my predictions based off of my own cards, and because I'm like, okay, this is what's showing up in my cards. This is how it's favorable. Money has to get to me. This is the law of my cards. This is what my card is saying to me. That for this 7 weeks is saying money got to get to you. Big money got to get to you. You know what I mean? So I'm like, okay, XYZ is going to happen because big money has to get to me. Sometimes there's money that has to get to somebody else, right? That has to come through you. So if you're connected to somebody, so let's say you're renting from somebody and you got a landlord. The landlord has great money cards. That means that money has to be flowing to the landlord. So it's probably going to come through you. You're going to pay your rent on time, whatever the case may be, because that person has to get their money. So this is how this big old karmic wheel and karmic connection works. So it's just like if I'm doing a sale, right? And I got a 10 of Diamonds, right? Let's say I'm doing a sale. That means money has to get to me, right? So guess what? When you come to me and I say to you, hey, I'm selling you this item for $100, and then you say, well, I don't have the money, but I got a 10 of Diamonds. That means that you're going to get the money. Because you got to get the money to me because I got a 10 of Diamonds. I'm supposed to get the money. Right? So then what's going to happen is you're going to say, you know what? All of a sudden this money just showed up out of the clear blue sky. Here you go. I got to buy this. You know what I mean? And that's because I have a 10 of Diamonds and I'm supposed to receive it. Period. And I talk to you and I got a 10 of Diamonds. So somebody is going to give you the money because you got to get the money to me. So cardology shows all of these chain reaction type energy things. You know what I mean? It's just so deep. And it helps to give you more confidence because you know what you're supposed to receive right now. Like you're supposed to be receiving, you're supposed to be getting this. There's no worry about it because karmically it's showing up. This is the energy that you have. You're going to get it. So it's a lot of things that you no longer have to worry about because your cards are showing you what you're working with right now at this time. Now, the cards verify a lot of things that already come to your mind. So there's already a psychic connection there. Like you already got a psychic seed implanted. So if you had a seed implanted that you want to get XYZ, then likely the potential is already there for you to get XYZ. So your cards are going to show you how you're going to get it, how you're going to go about getting it, and when approximately what the time and effort is going to take to get it. So so many different things can be determined from the cards, and I think ultimately that's why the card for cardology is a 9 of clubs, and the Uranus card to the 9 of clubs is the 4 of clubs, which is peace of mind. That's what cardology gives you, because it eliminates the stress, because it kind of tells you, hey, what you got the potential to do right now, and you got the potential to do everything, but what is going to be the effort to get this done? You have a choice to go down that path depending on the effort. So I'm kind of going in a little bit, you guys, if some of you came in a little bit later, of all of the potential. Sometimes I talk about cardology, especially on Instagram, and people are like, wow, where'd you get that from? You know what I mean? Because coming from a destiny card perspective, is real limited, to, you're looking at the cards and this is talking about the personalities of a birthday. But cardology is a map of karma. It's a map of the law of attraction. Every single thing has a birthday, even a thought. So you got a thought that pops in your mind. It popped in your mind on today's a King of Clubs day. So what's the birthday of that thought? What is the card of that thought from that day? It's a King of Clubs, because it came to mind on the King of Clubs day. You know what I mean? So then the associated karmas with the King of Clubs. You know that the King of Clubs has fairly good karma. Fairly positive karma. So pretty much any plan that is hatched today or idea today is pretty solid, because that's the King of Clubs, is solid thinking. It has all these 4s. It has a 10, and it has a 10 of clubs. It has a King of Spades. It has a lot of solid thinking and power behind it. So things that are going to be hatched on a King of Clubs day have a great potential to be successful. What is it going to take for it to be successful? That's also contained in the King of Clubs. And the King of Clubs is about stepping up into authority, stepping up into your power, speaking and communicating and learning and teaching, and maybe engaging with mentors or whatever. So the King of Clubs is telling you how this thing is going to come about. What is the life path of this? That's why we have cards for businesses, because businesses are born on a specific date. That's why you might have a card for a creation or something that you've created, because that thing that you created was born on a certain day. And sometimes there are times when we can't pinpoint the birthday of something, right? And that's when you got to get a little bit more creative with cardology, and you got to pay attention to the signs. You know what I mean? So this is like almost when you're a doctor and you're looking at a patient and you're taking down all of the patient's symptoms. And then you kind of come to a conclusion on what's going on with the patient. That's another level of cardology. It's when you're looking at all of the signs, all of the karmas, everything that's going on with this thing, and then you're figuring out what the associated card may be. And I do that a lot, because some people will say, well, how did you come to the conclusion that this is the card of this thing? Well, I paid attention. I saw a lot of the signs that are associated with a particular card. Now, mind you, I might not get the exact card. I might get a card in the line or in the natal spread of the real, whatever the real card is. But even if I come close, that's good. So for instance, let's say the real card is a Queen of Clubs, but I identified to be the King of Hearts. Well, the King of Hearts is essentially like a twin to the Queen of Clubs, because that's the transformation in the Earth card. So so if I come up with that, I still came up with something really, really super close to what it might be if it's not that. And this is where you have to have a lot of confidence in your own intuition to associate those kinds of things, because your intuition is a big part of this, because you're feeling, and you might feel and sense something or even think something, And the likelihood that that thing is associated with the energy that you're pinpointing is very high. Um, one of the things that I learned with cardology is when we have a question, like the energy answers that question really fast. Like within the first few seconds, the answer is there, you know? And this is how you can start to associate different cards and energies and stuff like that. Um, a lot of the students know, the current students of cardology know that if we start talking about a particular card, that means that that card is there. That means that each and every one of you has that card. You know what I mean? So we'll have conversations about things that are going on associated with a card, and everybody starts to be like, well, dang, I got that going on. Well, that's because we all got that card, because I couldn't bring up that card if we all didn't have it, if it didn't affect us all in some way. Someone said that they're in the conference, but they can't hear. Is everybody else hearing me?
Yes.
Okay.
I can hear
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what we call a personal problem. Definitely something going on with your phone or something of that nature. But again, that's to let you know there's many, many deep levels to cardology, but I don't want you to get too deep, because getting too deep, you start taking too much information and you really kind of running around in a circle. You know, that's another thing that I learned in cardology. Yes, you can get deep and deep and deep, and you can get so deep, and you can find out so many new things that you just wind up getting twisted around in a circle, you know, falling down the rabbit hole. So I don't want you to get that deep, you know, but I want you to get enough information that you can come to a logical conclusion without killing yourself, without having to get a whole bunch of other information. And this is something like, these are techniques that I kind of use in data science. You know, data science is so similar to cardology. You know, we get a bunch of information and we draw a conclusion, you know. And in cardology, the information that you're going to be given is karmas. I like to call them karmas that are associated with a particular card. So for instance, and we'll talk about the karmas a little bit too. For instance, it may be a two of clubs day, or maybe a nine of diamonds day, but the nine of diamonds has a two of clubs in Venus. So, you know, always when that comes around, I start getting these, you know, little crazy cravings. You know what I mean? So I can sit here and I can say, I can give off the list of karmas for those days, and it'll involve XYZ, you know. And I don't want to give too many karmas. I want to give the most evident ones. You know what I mean? But I don't want to sit there and confuse and be like, yeah, and this is possible, this is possible. Now, if somebody asks me and says, well, today's a nine of diamonds day, do you think, is this a possible event for that day? Then I might dig in the karmic Rolodex to see if that event is there. But otherwise, there are some main events that happen, and it's enough. It's about limiting. You know, you guys, I was thinking about this morning, like how we have a tendency to have so much information. And that's a feature of now approaching the, or getting deeper into the Aquarian age. So like for instance, 100 years ago, they had a pandemic too, right? They had the Spanish flu pandemic in the early 1900s, right? And they didn't have computers. So nobody was sitting around saying, well, what if it was a conspiracy? What if it's not real? What if our government created it? None of that mattered. The only thing that mattered was there was some type of illness going around and everybody had to wear masks, right? So I'm pretty sure they overcame it probably a lot easier than we are overcoming it now. And the reason being is because we got so much extra information. We're thinking so much. We're asking so many questions. We're talking about conspiracy theories. We're talking about it ain't real. We're talking about the government, blah, blah, blah. we're overcomplicating something that may not have to be so complicated, right? So one of the things I learned with cardology is the rule of thumb is you might just want to stick with the basics. You know what I mean? And you're going to need to know this type of stuff too, you guys, as we're moving into this age where we are being manipulated by extra energy and extra information and data and by data science and stuff like that. The only arm that you have, or the only guard that you have, is simplicity. You know what I mean? That's all you have to fight that. So they're giving you all of this information. Everybody's coming up with all these theories and da 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 da. All you have to go on is the most basic and the simplest thing. And that would be nature, because I don't think that nature wants to overcomplicate things and make you think too hard. I really don't. Like I don't think that at all. I think that's a feature of what we do. You know what I mean? So when you bring things back to the basics and you eliminate all that other stuff, because it's stuff that you just can't prove. You know what I mean? You can't prove that XYZ. You're proving it with another thought, with more information from other people, but that's just not proof. Years ago, that was not how you would come up with something that's scientific proof. You have an hypothesis, you would test it, yada yada yada. It wouldn't just be a fact because all these people on the internet are saying it. You know what I mean? Because I could literally create something and put out enough data on the internet to make it look like fact. And it's not fact. So the only thing that you have is to limit all of that stuff, throw it all out. I always say this too, and you guys follow me on Instagram and Facebook. I tell you, give it all away. Just throw it all away. Don't believe any of it. You know what I mean? That's the rule of thumb. Don't believe any of it. So the same thing applies to cardology. You can get deeper and deeper and deeper and ask a lot of questions, and you started out wanting to know the answer to one basic question, and you done got so deep that now you just created more questions. You know what I mean? And then you walk away with no resolution. So when I'm doing a reading with people, I like them to walk away with some resolution. So I'm not going to take them so deep. I'm going to just kind of stay above the surface of what the energy says. This is basic energy right here. It's basic. I'm not going to go super deep into it. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm not going to look up each individual card and look up each individual keyword and stuff like that. Because one of the things that I found when you open a spread in cardology is whatever needs to speak to you starts speaking to you right away. The cards have energy, so you might open up someone's spread and they got a bunch of red cards, like they have hearts and diamonds, right? So it's going to hit you in a hearts and diamonds way. If they got a lot of hearts, you're not going to be able to ignore the fact that this is about relationships when you open up their yearly spread. You won't be able to ignore it. You're going to be like, they might be thinking about something totally different, or you might be like, they may have a question. You say, well, hold on to your question because this is what your spread is saying. So this is what's most important right now. So that's jumping out. Or they may have a spread that's really black. So it's got a lot of spades. So it's dealing with work and health. You know what I mean? And those are the things that are going to jump out right away. I won't have to go digging for it. This is what needs to be said. This is what your energy is saying right now. And if you deal with that, you're going to connect with the person because they already know that this is true. They know what they're dealing with. You know what I mean? So they know that, yeah, they got a lot of relationship stuff going on. They know that. And your cards are going to reflect it under whatever period. Someone has their hand up. I think it's Keish. You had your hand up? Is there something that you wanted to ask or say? Oh, okay. She said no. Okay, cool. So I hope that I'm not jumping into too much super advanced stuff. Because I know a lot of you guys come to the website and you play around with the software, and you should. You know what I mean? You shouldn't let it intimidate you and you be like, well, I don't know the cards. Nobody really knows the cards when they start playing around with these spreads. You know what I mean? But that's the point. It ain't gonna bite you. You go in, you put in a birthday, you put in an age, and boom, you get in a yearly spread. It's telling you the energy that this person is dealing with for the year. You know what I mean? Yes, there are various definitives in a yearly spread too. So if you open up somebody's yearly spread and they got a bunch of nines, right? Um, there's endings. Nines are endings. How they receive those endings. Um, people don't do well with endings. It could be there's some bad energy and there's gonna be some good energy. Endings are not necessarily like nines are not necessarily bad cards in a that they can bring you to the peak of something. You know what I mean? So if you're trying to get to the peak of something or some area of your life or get to this real height of your life, then you're looking at a nine, you know. If you're if there's something that you're holding on to that you need to let go, that you just wish this problem would go away, then you want to see a nine, right? Because that's kind of a confirmation that this is ending, this is coming to an end, and it's going to go away, and then you'll be able to move forward. So you open up a spread, you see they got a lot of nines, you know that there's endings. You open up a spread and you see that they got a lot of kings, then you know that this is some important energy this person is dealing with. But not everybody wants to be a king, you know. So you can have a bunch of kings, but you could be, not using the fullest of that potential. So, and if you have a yearly spread, and this is for the people who are poking around on the software, if you have a yearly spread and it's full of some very powerful cards like nines, I mean like eights and kings and tens and stuff like that, if you don't use those cards, you will be used by those cards. Meaning that if you don't use your power card, there's someone else around you who's going to use the power card on you. So this is why some people feel abused or bullied or whatever. They have power cards they're holding in their hands, but they're not using it. Someone else is using their cards. Someone else is showing them that they're supposed to use their cards in some way, and they're not, and they're refusing to use them. So it's all energy. This is all what the cards are showing you is what energy you have present. What kind of magic wand are you holding? What superpower do you have? You got your own superpower that you were born with. And I talk about superpowers a lot in cardology. You got your own superpowers. Then you got the superpowers that are associated with cards that you have for the next 7 years. And then you have superpowers that are associated with cards you have for the year, superpowers that are associated with the cards you have for the day. You know what I mean? So if your daily card is an ace of diamonds, and you may need to use that superpower that's associated with ace of diamonds for that day. Somebody has a question. Fabian?
Yes. Hi. Thank you.
Hi.
I was wondering, what does it mean when you're displacing a card?
Okay, good question. Great question. So these cards, when you look at spreads, when you come to my website and you look up spreads, those spreads are an abbreviated an abbreviated portion of cardology. There's something in cardology called the grand solar spreads. They are essentially a shuffle that was done, a magnetic shuffle, and some people call it the tablets of destiny, but it's a magnetic shuffle that was done, and it's a consistent static shuffle. It's actually spreads. It's actually like 90 spreads, right? And they represent the cards that are moving through life. They represent ages. So age 1 has a spread, age 2 has a spread, and these are constant spreads. So it doesn't matter what your card is. If you're 44 years old, you fall on the spread of a 40, or you fall on the 44th spread. Okay. So everybody who's at age 44 goes through similar experiences. They just experience those experiences from their perspective. Okay. So that's what these spreads represent. And each year you move. Each year you don't stay in the same spot. And it's just like in astrology, it's what we call progression. In astrology, we progress through our chart. So I was born a Scorpio, but I'm now a Capricorn because I progressed into my sun has progressed into Capricorn. Well, in cardology, your card progresses each year. It moves and it occupies a spot. Now, there are 2 spots that we'll deal with one. We have one called the life spread, right? So the life spread is essentially when you're born, your incarnation. That's what gets stamped into the unit. That's where you come into through when you come into this plane, you come in through this life spread, right? And if you're like a 4 clubs like me, then you have 13 cards that is super important to you. And that's what we call your life spread. So if you come on, you go on Aquarius Maximus, you click on all spreads and you find your card, you're going to see your life spread. And this particular spread is taken from the grand solar spreads, right? So everything is from that vantage and that initial reference point. But everything after that, every year after that, you move. But you have a space on the spread that you occupy alone. Like this is your space. This is what you were born into. So as a 4 clubs, I'm born into a space on the grand solar spreads that is sits at the junction of Mars and Jupiter. So I'm a Mars and Jupiter person, right? And the 10 of diamonds, for instance, sits at the intersection of Jupiter and Jupiter. It's like literally an XY intersection. So if some of you know a little bit about mathematics, you have the horizontal and you have the XY per what do you call it? I don't know the word for it, but you have X, which is horizontal, and you have Y, which is vertical axis. There you go, XY axis. And these axes are ruled by planets. And we use in cardology the 7 major planets, which are Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Now, I also use Pluto, but that's a little advanced. But for all intents and purposes, we use these 7 planets. And these 7 planets are on each axis on the grand solar spread. So this becomes your spot. This is your spot in the life spread, right? Naturally. But when we progress and we move around, we step on someone else's spot. So that's called displacing, right? So when I move and I'm a 4 clubs, and let's say I move into the spot of a 9 of diamonds, right? Then you're going to see the term, I am displacing the 9 of diamonds. So when I move into the spot of the 9 of diamonds, then for that year, I am now approaching life from the perspective of a 9 of diamonds person. Okay. That means that I'm going to experience the karmas that are associated with the 9 of diamonds. And I'm approaching life as a 9 of diamonds, even though I'm still 4 clubs. I got my 4 clubs energy, but right now I'm also a 9 of diamonds. I'm also approaching life from the perspective of a 9 of diamonds. Okay. So the significance of that is when you displace a card, you naturally become closer to that card because you are now seeing life from the perspective of that card. It brings you closer. So if you're displacing the 9 of diamonds 1 year, then you're probably going to have a tighter relationship with someone who's a 9 of diamonds in your life, or maybe even a new person, right? Y'all are going to be closer. And you could have been literal enemies last year. You know, like you ain't like that person. You ever had a situation where you don't like somebody and then all of a sudden you find yourself being around that person a lot more and actually getting along with that person? Well, then you're probably displacing their card. You know what I mean? So now this displacement brings you guys closer. You're seeing more eye to eye because you're seeing from their perspective. You're experiencing life from their perspective. So now you're seeing more eye to eye. That's what brings relationships. Relationships come together because two people start seeing things eye to eye. So that's what brings them together. And the fact that they're probably that one is displacing their card, or they have a card that is linking them, and that's bringing them in a tighter relationship, right? So let's say there's someone you like, and let's say you're a 3 of diamonds and you like this, you're a woman, you're a 3 of diamonds woman, and you like this guy who is a 9 of spades, which also happens to be your Neptune card, right? You like this guy, and then you open up your spread, and lo and behold, your next birthday, you're displacing the 9 of spades. That definitely tells me that this person that you like, you're probably going to have some type of relationship. You're definitely going to be spending more time together, yada, 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 because you guys are on the same page. Think of like that, displacing on the same page. Now, somebody mentioned in the chat that I'm displacing my own birth card. That happens when you turn 45. Or if you're one of the static cards, there are a few cards that don't displace anybody else's card, and no one can displace them. They're static and they don't move, right? So on the Grand Solar Spreads, the cards that don't move are the 8 of Clubs, the King of Spades, and the Jack of Hearts, right? These are 3 cards that don't move. No one ever displaces their card, and they never displace someone else's card. So if you look and you see that you're always displacing your own card, then you know that you're one of those fixed cards. You're one of those static cards that don't move, right? Displacement cards are very key to doing readings. So what do you do when you come across somebody who's a static card and you can't do displacement because they're always going to displace their cards? That's when you start looking at other significators. So you might look at the Pluto card or the Mars or the yada, 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 but you can't, or the card of the year, because you can't really go by the displacement because they always displace themselves. So that's the significance of that. I see a couple more hands. Now I only see Keish. I don't know if that's the same hand she has up. Fabian, I think that's the same hand. I don't see it.
I had another question.
Sure.
I was going to say, people who seem to move from one relationship to another, could it be that they're just living out that energy of displacing those cards? Like,
well, you got some cards that are supposed to have a lot of relationships, right? So you got cards that, like, if you got a 5 of hearts, you're supposed to move from one relationship to another. You know what I mean? You can't get away from it. That's your destiny. You're gonna have a lot of relationships. Or if you got a 10 of hearts, then you're gonna have a relationship. It's a one-to-many kind of relationship. So you're gonna have a relationship with the public. If you got a 5 of hearts, you're gonna have a lot. You're gonna have people coming in and out of your life very quickly. So somebody looking at you, it could be kind of dizzying, but for you, it's normal. You know what I mean? This might be, and this is not just a 5 of hearts. It could be somebody who has a 5 of hearts, like an Ace of Diamonds or Queen of Diamonds. Queen of Diamonds, people might look at like, damn, this person is with somebody else already, or they got somebody else. Well, they got a 5 of Hearts in Mercury. You know what I mean? So you can up and look. You can look at a Queen of Diamonds, and they got this wonderful relationship seeming like going on, and then next year they with somebody else. Somebody said, "Hello, Queen of Diamonds with a 5 a heart yearly." It is what it is. Now the 8 of Clubs has a Queen of Diamonds in Pluto. So the 8 of Clubs, they can be that way sometimes too. They can have new relationships, from time to time. Queen of Hearts has a 5 of Clubs Pluto, which is related to the 5 of Hearts, and they also have a 3 of Hearts in Jupiter. So if a Queen of Hearts is in a really good place in her life, then she could be a real social butterfly. You know what I mean? And you might not be able to figure out who she with. Somebody said, "Lol, that's my card." You know what I mean? So some people are just meant to have lots of relationships. Some people don't have a lot of relationships, but some people are meant to. That's a part of their destiny. That's part of their incarnation. I can see why a 5 of Hearts would have a lot of relationships, because a 5 of Hearts is potentially a huge and wildly successful card, but they're very experimental. They got to be able to experiment with relationships, and it ain't but so much experimenting you're going to do with one person before you drive them crazy. You know what I mean? And to some people, the delving into the mind and the life of a 5 of Hearts can be a little crazy to some people. You know what I mean? Like for instance, it's funny because I was saying, I'm not gonna name no names on certain people, but I know of a 5 of Hearts, right? And I know recently they tried, and he is married, and someone tried to out him as I guess like, having phone relationships with other people, right? And they were acting like they were outing them, but I can guarantee you, if they're a 5 of Hearts, that their partner knows about this. You know what I mean? Like their partner knows, and they don't have a problem with it, and the partner probably got their own stuff going on too. So yes, Cardology does help you find your true selves and heal from programming. Yeah, because it highlights your own particular individuality, what makes you you, what makes you tick, and it can give people a better understanding of that. The majority of our problems is we got all of these different personalities and stuff that don't fit in the status quo, because the status quo is saying you should be like this. You know what I mean? But you're not like that because you're a different card. You know what I mean? And so now you're forced to repress who you are and fit your square peg into everybody else's round hole. But Cardology definitely helps to empower you as an individual to say, well, no, this is the way that I see life. This is the way I experience life. And this is what's normal to me. And it may not be normal to you, but this is what's normal to me. Think of how many things that you do on a day-to-day basis that you feel is normal. And you don't know it's not normal until someone else comes around and says it ain't normal. And you're like, well, dang, I thought that was normal. Because why? Of course I thought it was normal, because that's the way I think. That's the way I've been my whole entire life. So Cardology definitely helps to segment certain character types and personalities so that we can say, okay, this is the personality of this card. And it's good because you could choose to whether or not you want to engage with that card on a long-term basis. And sometimes you can't get away from engaging with them. You're thrown and thrust into the situation because you now have that card and you need to learn from that person the karmas that are associated with that card for your own, for whatever particular reason in time you need that energy. Someone asked, did you remove the breakdowns of non-planetary cards? I'm new to this and I want to understand that. I don't understand what you mean by non-planetary cards. All of the cards have a planetary influence. We were talking about the grand solar spreads. Oh, the environment. Okay. So the environment. Oh, I know what you're talking about now. The additional cards like the environment, the reward, cosmic. Yeah. They actually have planetary associations in the deeper magi for that stuff. But for all intents and purposes, remember I said in the beginning, I ain't gonna go that deep like that because we don't even need to. But what the environment card represents is exactly what it says, environment. This is an energy that and it is related to the grand solar spreads. So when we were talking about displacement, the environment is the replacement card. So remember what I say, you move and you step in somebody's spot, you're displacing their card. But what happens if somebody steps in your spot? What type of relationship is that for you? Well, that's the environment card. The environment card is when a card is moving and it's standing in your natural spot. So you're on the spread. Yeah, you're still in 8 of clubs, right? Your environment's gonna be in 8 of clubs forever. And you're gonna displace is gonna be the 8 of clubs forever because you don't move. So, but if you're not one of those fixed cards, when you move, let's say you're displacing the 9 of diamonds on this one particular spread, then there's another card that's now standing in your spot, right? And in the destiny cards, they like to kind of give the analogy of renting a space from you, right? So someone's renting a space from you, they're standing in your spot, then they owe you, right? Because that's your spot. So they got to give you money, right? So the environment is always looked at as a positive influence. Now, it could still have negative karmas. You know what I mean? So like, for instance, the 7 of spades can be associated with car accidents. And you could have a 7 of spades environment. Now, that 7 of spades can shower you with all type of goodness that's associated with taking a leap of faith and having faith and stuff like that. It doesn't mean you ain't gonna get a car accident, but but if you do, you're gonna benefit. So it could be a car accident that you get a lot of money from. You know what I mean? But you still can have some broken knees and stuff like that. But you're going to get some money from it. So it's like it's going to benefit you. You know what I mean? So when that card shows up, it's kind of like a protective influence on you. It's going to benefit you in some way. Yes. And if a person happens to be that environment card, then they're going to be beneficial to you. You know what I mean? You don't want to throw that person away. You don't want to get rid of your environment card. You know what I mean? So unlike the displacement card is you seeing things from their perspective. The environment card is they're naturally going to see things from your perspective. You know what I mean? So your environment card is a 5 of spades. Well, the 5 of spades is sitting in the spot that's naturally your card. So that means that they now see things from your point of view. You know what I mean? So when you're displacing, you see something from their point of view. When it's an environment, they're seeing something from your point of view. So your point of view wins. Your energy wins because your energy is winning because whoever's in that environment card is seeing things from your point of view. So that's the significance of those cards. So is anybody like lost? Somebody said, woo. I'll make sure to pay attention to that when looking for a mate. Yeah, I mean, whatever mate you got coming, it's destined. You can't, you know what I mean? It's just gonna show up. Your cards are better used at figuring out how to deal with this person. You know what I mean? So for instance, you might have this really great relationship with somebody, they're your environment card, or you're displacing a card 1 year, and then the next year they might move to Saturn, right? And this is the reason why we have 7-year cycles in cardology. This is the reason why you got those 7-year relationships. You know what I mean? Or you got the yearly relationships. Because for 7 years, this person could be sitting in a really good spot in your life. And then the next 7-year cycle comes and they move to a really jacked up spot in your spread. So guess what? Y'all got problems now because y'all can no longer see things from the same perspective. You know what I mean? Now, whereas you might have been in a good space with this person, you might be a burden to them now because you're sitting in Saturn. So you're going to naturally feel heavier. So if this person is not ready to make a commitment to you, like marriage, because Saturn is marriage, then you're going to seem like just a ball and chain. They're not going to know what to do with you. You know what I mean? Or, this person can move. A lot of relationships come out of Mars. And why? Because Mars is sex. So this person just happens to be sitting in the Mars position to you 1 year, and y'all fall so passionately in, what do we want to call it, in love. Y'all fall so passionately for one another because you can't help each other because now y'all got a Mars relationship, which is very passionate, very sexual, and yes, terrible much later. Because once that wears off, and then guess what? Now y'all fighting because Mars is also fighting. You know what I mean? So once the sex wears off, you got to be doing something intense together because you got a Mars connection. So y'all could be working together, working on a project or goal, working out or whatever. But if y'all ain't doing that anymore, now you're bitter with one another. Now you're enemies. You're fighting, you're arguing, stuff like that. So, and you could start out as Mars to somebody, and then you could move to somewhere else. You can start out as Mars, and then you move to Uranus, right? All of a sudden, you don't want to have sex with that person no more. You know what I mean? Like you want your space. And this other person's like, why do they want their space? Why do they not spend no time with me anymore? Well, now they're Uranus. You know what I mean? So now, Uranus is about freedom. So now they want their freedom. So yes, these planetary energies and the movement around cardology definitely dictates relationships. So when I'm looking at relationships and I'm doing relationship readings, I'm always looking at the long term. But sometimes people are meant to just be short term, you know what I mean? But I'm always looking at the long term to see what's coming down the pipeline. Is this person moving into a better position in this person's life later on down the line? And is this person in a prominent position in this person's life? During this period and the next period. If you're in a 7-year cycle and this person is your Magi card, which is like your cosmic lesson, they call it, that person could be in that position for 2 7-year cycles. That's a total of 14 years. That's a long time. So there's certain positions that have a lot more longevity than other positions. If you're in someone's spread, but they aren't in yours, does that mean anything for a relationship? Well, if you are having a relationship with somebody, they're in your spread. They may not be in your spread as their card. They could be showing up as their karma card. Hell, they could be showing up as a lot of times they're showing up as a karma card. They could be showing up as a hidden card. I do the hidden card a lot. They could be showing up as their Venus card. They could be showing up in terms of the combination card. You know what I mean? So if y'all in a relationship, they there. They just may not be their sun card, but they're something else. They're there. Now, if this is somebody that you like and y'all ain't in a relationship and they not showing up directly, You know, again, you want to look, if it's somebody you like and you really want to see if it's going to be a thing, you want to look at the 7-year cards. You want to look at your 7-year spreads. You want to look at the long-term spreads to see if this person is showing up. You know what I mean? So if somebody comes to me and they're like, I'm in a relationship with somebody, I just want to know if we're going to break up. If I look to next year and a year after and I'm seeing this person in different forms, I'm like, likely not, you know, because this person is still showing up in your cards in a major way. Is anybody completely lost? It's a King of Clubs day, so that's pretty good. Shouldn't have to be completely lost.
Hey, Aquarius.
Hey.
Hey, this is Darren. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good.
Yes. So you know what? Just listening to you talk about the relationship thing, and like you said, looking at the long term.
Mm-hmm.
So if a person has a displacement card of a, let's just say, a very loving displacement card, a 4 of hearts
Right.
or a 2 of hearts displacement card for 7 years, and then they jump after 7 years. And the reason I'm bringing this up because I'm thinking about the